I'm happy to have you as a guest on my channel. Go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me on. My name's Frank. I'm from Let's Be Frank here on YouTube, obviously. And I'm just a pleasure to actually make a connection with you, making this community stronger by interacting with each other.
Yes, sir, man. And it's great to connect with other Florida Patriots. For the longest time, I felt like I was the only one down here. Granted, my platform's not that huge, but people around the state know who I am, and it's great to meet other Patriots in the state. How long have you known about my channel?
I've actually was introduced to your channel by one of my viewers. They sent me a direct message on Twitter and say, "Hey, you need to check out this channel." I said, "Okay." I said, so I went ahead and checked it out. About a month ago, I checked it out, and I said, "Man, I really like this guy." I said, "And he's from Florida as well." I said, "That's awesome."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Down here in I guess I'm in the peninsula. You're up in the Panhandle, right? Tallahassee area.
Yep. I lived most of my life in the Tampa Bay area. It wasn't until the last 6 years ago that we moved up this way. So,
Okay. Yeah, I always forget how big the state is. It's like because I'm in the peninsula part, I really only think about across the other side to the Atlantic. I never think like there's a whole nother coast way up near the like what Georgia and Alabama. The state is
absolutely.
friggin' huge.
Oh, absolutely. I remember moving up here, and when I told all my friends I was moving up to the northern part of Florida, they're like, "Oh, there's a bunch of rednecks up there. You ain't going to be able to fit in up there." And I moved up here, and they're the nicest people that I've ever met,
I
and the
know,
most
right?
welcoming.
I know, right? The truth is stranger than fiction, like I always say on my channel. And I moved to Florida from Minnesota. Like I said, I'm originally from Denver, but I spent about half a decade in Minnesota, Minneapolis. It's just so liberal up there. And then when I moved down here, a lot of people are like, Florida in the South, you got to be careful down there in some parts. I've been down here 2 years now. I've seen all kind of people. I've seen people with Confederate flags, believe it or not. They're just normal people. They treat me like a person. That's it. That's all anyone can ask for, right? I mean, the people I've met down here have been some of the nicest ever. I tell you what, since putting on the MAGA hat, I've met some of the nicest people and some of the meanest. Before that, I didn't feel like I met people that were too nice or too mean. Now I get the extremes of both.
Oh, absolutely. I understand completely what you are mentioning. I have my Make America Great hat too. I don't wear it for my videos because I actually style my hair. So, but I wear it when I'm out and about, and I get so many compliments on it. But again, I've ran into some people that are like, "Why are you wearing that? You're such a sellout," because they
Right.
see that I'm Hispanic, and they're like, "Oh, you're a traitor. He's going to throw you across the wall too." I said, "Well, I'll go help him build it."
Right. Man, just the level of ignorance is just mind numbing. Like, these are the people that are supposed to be so smart, but they say the most ignorant things. And the expectations they have of us as minorities, when they see us, they see victim class, they see Democrat voters, they see people who can't think for themselves or come to their own conclusions. And it's just, I don't think ever would have noticed it had I not boldly supported the president. I just would have walked around just not even thinking about it.
Oh yeah, I actually went to his rally in Orlando a couple months back. I believe it was June. Yeah, it
Yep.
was June. It was, and I was out there. I was representing my channel, and just the demographics of people that were down there would just amaze you. It wouldn't be anything that the news media would actually show. They would just show a bunch of white people. But when you start walking and interacting with everybody, there's just everybody. Everybody's there. It's not just a certain class of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is with the liberal left that just assumes that every minority group is a monolith and that needs to be led to the Democrat plantation to vote. Like they treat us like we are less than. They literally do. They see minorities and they see victim voters for Democrats. Like, let's help you. You're a person of color. You're oppressed, obviously. Look at your skin. And like when we push back and we're like, actually, no, I'm your equal. Then we see them. Then that's when the racism comes out. That's why I was really hoping that Kirsten Gillibrand would stay in the race just long enough to come to Florida, even if it's for like, I figure since she wasn't polling high at all, she wouldn't draw a crowd. She'd hold a little crowd at a coffee shop, and I would go in there and confront her respectfully, of course, but I would confront her and just be like, "Hey, I know you have this white savior complex, but I just want to let you know that I'm your equal." Just to see the meltdown. I would just be like, "Yeah, I'm your equal. I'm a patriot. I love this country. I'm pro First Amendment, pro Second Amendment, and I'll never vote Democrat." Just to see the reaction. I guarantee everybody would just be so shook about it because she's the one candidate I felt like went the extra mile to assert her whiteness, and she just vowed to slay the dragon for all minorities. She just championed that cause, and it was so cringy. I couldn't stand it. I was like, man, I hope I get to meet her. Stay in the race long enough.
It's funny that you mentioned hers because I remember following her and just thinking about how much she pandered to every minority group. It didn't matter if it was a gay group or if it was a Black Americans or whatever. She pandered to them so bad. It was that during the debates, I believe she said she would help educate women why they were hurting themselves by voting for President Trump. It's like I don't need people telling me who to vote for, let alone guiding me to go vote for somebody that I have no interest in voting in whatsoever.
I know. Yeah, it's the white savior complex. Just in the last debate, she's like, I'm going to go out to these suburbs in Michigan and I'm going to lecture white women on why they need to be more moral and how their sons could walk down the street with hoodie and Skittles and not get shot. She just perpetuating all of these false narratives that luckily many people weren't buying. At least they weren't buying it from her, but she kept on selling those false narratives. But anyway, we do not need to be talking about her this whole time.
No, absolutely not.
How long have you
I've
been?
told. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how long have you been a conservative?
I've actually probably been conservative my entire life. I grew up in a Republican household. My parents were Republican. And so I was already going against the grain right from the start. Many of my family members, though, were harsh or very stout Democrat. My cousins and everybody I would hang out with at school or family reunions or whatever, and I would get the pushback, and it got worse as I got older because I asserted myself even more, talking about why are you voting this way, and
Mm-hmm.
so they don't even talk to me anymore. Really, it's a shame because it wasn't that I was bringing politics up every chance I got, because they would be the first ones to bring it up. They were like, "Hey, and they talk about whatever," and I'm like, "Well, actually."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been conservative my entire life. I registered Republican in high school when I had the ability to vote in my first election, and even early on, I was still learning. And I obviously, as I've grown older, I've learned a lot more about different candidates I supported back in the day versus to looking now at them and like, oh wow, maybe I shouldn't have supported that guy, but definitely should have supported the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican?
I am Mexican American. I'm third generation here in the United States.
Okay.
My grandparents came over back in the early 20s.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Since being in Florida, I just kind of learned how demographics tend to think, not in a monolithic sense, but just if you look at like voting records and some of the politics of their homeland, or where places like Puerto Rico where they are heavily Democrat, but places like Cuba where they've been communist. So Cuban Americans here are overwhelmingly Republican, and Puerto Ricans here tend to be overwhelmingly Democrat, but yet we're all in Florida together. So that's why Florida's like this huge mixed bag of political ideologies and people from all walks of life. I really love it because it's so diverse. You're Mexican American, I'm Black American, but I'm from a different part of the state or a different part of the country and a different part of the state, really from where you are. And all of the demographics within Florida and the different atmospheres just tells you how complex and diverse our country is. You can see it here in Florida. Tell me more about the political climate in Tallahassee. I know you have a failed governor up there, a failed mayor that tried to run for governor. What's the
Uh,
atmosphere like now that we got Ron in the mansion up there?
Well, just to clarify, I only say Tallahassee because I've lived outside Tallahassee, but if I say the town, nobody knows where it's at. So I normally just link myself to the closest biggest city.
Gotcha.
I'm about 60 miles outside of Tallahassee. I am in a very small conservative county and town. Town's called Mayo, like what you put on your bread. And fun fact, last year we actually changed our name from Mayo to Miracle Whip. It was a big publicity stunt and everything like that. And Miracle Whip people were down here from Craft and things like that. So we got ourselves on the map for literally 6 hours.
No way. Oh, they changed it. It was a temporary name change
It
to
was.
Miracle Whip.
Yep.
That's crazy. That's
uh,
hilarious, man.
and so the town I live in is the county is the second smallest county in the state of Florida, Lafayette County. Here in the state of Florida, we have about 5,000 people in our county. And many of them actually, I speak with the supervisor of elections all the time here at the county because there's one courthouse and everything's there. So I get to go and just talk to everybody. He told me that many of the people here, even though they were registered Democrat, they would vote Republican. And so Republican activists finally got up here and were able to help change a lot of these people over from Democrat to actually Republican. They're like, you're voting Republican anyway because their ideals line up more with your ideals. And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess so. So over the last 4 years, we've actually had a shift in demographic as far as Democrat Republican in the county to a majority Republican now here.
Yeah. Funny how that works, right? Voting your
Absolutely.
values, right?
Yes.